What would you do if you were spending an afternoon at the lake when all of a sudden you found yourself wrapped from head to toe inside a living cow skin? That's you. That's you as you're suffocating inside cow skin. And then we take a look at a bizarre near-death experience that will give you a clue as to how you too may gain favor in the afterlife. However, once you hear this episode, the magic may disappear. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys are having fun doing whatever you're doing. We got a ton of stuff to cover today. So first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for Blitz Neo. Woohoo! Yeah, we have Blitz Neo is running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Longtime supporter of Dead Rabbit Radio, Blitz Neo made a donation during our Thanksgiving live stream special, and that is why he is getting a shout out today in April. Thank you so much for your support, Blitz Neo. You're going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through our Patreon or our merch store or our live streams, it's totally fine. It really is. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Also, one more reminder, this weekend, Friday, we are having our Dead Rabbit Radio movie night. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our Patreon members. Free and paid members can join. There'll be an announcement posted on the Patreon to let you guys know that that is coming up. And then the next morning, Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are doing Dead Rabbit Radio Movie Morning, and that's available for everybody. Patreon or not, you can come and join us for the Dead Rabbit Radio Movie Morning. I post the links for the Movie Morning on my socials, so just follow me on YouTube, follow me on X, or what they call it now. X is what the kids call it. Twitter is what I call it. Instagram, I'll put a link. So if you follow me on the socials, you'll get a link to the Saturday morning one. If you follow me on Patreon, if you support the show, free or paid, you will get a link Friday night as well. Hope to see you guys there. We always watch a ton of short horror movies. I look forward to this all the time. I actually don't watch any short horror movies. I save them to watch them with you guys. It's always a blast. Okay, Blitz Neo, let's go ahead and toss you. Let's get this party started. I'm going to go ahead and toss you the... Is there a new vehicle we can use? Let's go ahead and toss you the Jason jetpack. Everyone climb onto Blitz Neo's back. If the unlucky person sits exactly right square on the backpack, you will get burned. But everyone else will not. Everyone else will just be amused by your screams as he takes off. Blitz Neo, fire up this Jason jetpack. We're leaving behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Chile? Nice little jetpack journey all the way down to Chile. Specifically, we're going to be in the south and central regions of Chile. We're going to spend a little bit of time in southwest Argentina as well to take a look at a local creature that'll have you asking yourself, maybe I shouldn't eat so much beef. Or maybe it'll make you hungry. I don't know. It might actually make you hungry. You might want to go out and buy a new pair of cow leather boots. What do they make? Leather is cow, right? Generally, like when you buy leather boots, it's cow skin, I guess. Maybe you'll buy a new pair. Either way, I probably won't recommend it after hearing this episode. But who am I to say what you can put on your body? We're headed all the way out to this region. There's a lot of different versions of this story because it's a pretty big cultural... There's a lot of versions of the story. Different cultures talk about this creature. I kind of combined elements of the two regions to have one, instead of just one person believes it looked like this, but another person believes it looked like that. I kind of combined some stuff. But anyways, we land out here. We're setting foot next to a beautiful lake. It's calm. The water is still. We're sitting out there. I hope you guys brought your swim trunks. I got on my little tank top and my swim trunks, my shower cap. And we're sitting out on the lakeside, and I got my feet in the water. And I go, hey, bro, come over here, man. Come sit next to me by the lake. And you're like, you're all scanning the horizon. You're like, I don't know, man, something's probably going to kill me. What? No way, dude. As you have third-degree burns on your chest from the jetpack ride. What's worse? No, I think first degree, right? That's when your muscle tissues have been burned. Anyways, I was like, hey, let's get a suntan. Your heart's all getting burnt. we're sitting out by the lake, and I go, hey, we don't really get to relax much on this show. Is some sort of boogeyman chasing us, or, there was that time you hooked up with that dog walker. I told you not to do that either, but you look like you're having a blast. But anyways, I didn't want to interrupt you. Anyways, we're sitting on the lakeside. I go, we don't really get a lot of time to relax. So let's just sit by the lakeside. Let's sit by this Chilean lake, and why don't you close your eyes, bro? Close your eyes. You're like, what? Okay. So you lay down and you close your eyes. I go, yeah, it sure is nice out here, isn't it? You're like, yeah, it's pretty nice. I go, you feel that warm sun on your skin? You're like, yeah. You feel the water lapping against your bare feet? Yeah, I feel that too. Oh, man, it's pretty nice, huh? And I keep talking, but you notice my voice gets farther and farther away. You're like, that's weird. I thought Jason was going to do something totally normal on this episode. Why is he acting so bizarre? Eventually, you hear me. It sounds like I'm like 50 feet away, and I'm like, hey, dude, it's nice and calm out here, isn't it? I'm screaming just so you can hear me. You're like, what? You open your eyes, and you realize that only you are on the beach. The rest of us have walked probably like a football field away. We're standing up farther off the beach, and you're like, huh, what? This is the first time listening to this show. You're like, oh, I guess this is normal. I guess listeners very often die during this episode. You wake up and you realize we're all far away, and you're like, huh, what are you guys doing over there? And that's when you see something bubbling in the water. You're like, huh? How's it going down there, man? Have you been eating yet? You're like, wait, what? Oh, eating? What are you talking about being eaten? I just see bubbles in the water. All of a sudden, this giant thing emerges from the calm lake. It's almost like jumping out of the water towards you. Now, it's not giant. It's not like Godzilla size. That might be the wrong word. It's giant compared to a human. This thing's, 5 feet in diameter. Actually, it's smaller than a person. Now that I think about it, you're Sabrina Carpenter. You're like, what a giant monster. This 5 foot in diameter. 5 feet, yeah, 5 feet. That's across, right? No, diameter is circular. Like, all the way around. It's big, right? It doesn't matter how big it is, because it's coming right at you. It's flying up at you, and what you see is it's brown with spots of white on it. It looks like cow skin. It looks like it's living cow flesh jumping out of the lake. But that's not all. You do notice that, but you also notice it's ringed with claws. There was a piece of cow flesh with long claws that are stuck to the sides of it, the diameter of it, and it's jumping up at you, and before you can react, the last thing you see is it seems to have some sort of mouth on the bottom of it, and that mouth is headed right towards you. But it's too late to react. It wraps itself around you. Claws digging into your flesh so you can't break free. This living cow skin wraps you up like a burrito. Or possibly an enchilada, based on the amount of blood you're leaking, all the juices. It wraps around you and you're trying to break free, but you can't. Because even if you could somehow start to unwrap you burrito, another claw just digs right into your flesh. Ah! And it's just wrapping you, it's just constricting tighter and tighter around you. Your screams for help are muffled. Your legs are kicking. I'm assuming you're over 5 feet tall and your legs are still kicking. They can still see your legs. Then it completely cover you up, unless you're Mrs. Carpenter. But you're toast, right? You can feel it tighten and constrict you. You can feel the mouth biting into your stomach. Ah, ah, ah! You scream. Your muffled moans for mercy are unheard. This beast will provide you no quarter. It's going to eat you alive. And, what's worse, right? It's eating you alive. It's also pulling you back into the lake. So even if somehow you survive this creature that's eating into your innards, you're going to drown. So maybe it takes a while to gobble you up, but it doesn't matter because you feel the water shooting through your nostrils and in your mouth. You can't scream anymore because you'll just get more water in you. You're dead either way. You have become a victim of El Curro, a.k.a. the Hide. Or the Manta is another name it goes by. Or my favorite, the Pelt of the Lake. There's like 20 different names for this thing, honestly. It's a creature that is spread across such a wide geographical area, you have different people calling it different things. But generally it's known as El Curo. I love Pelt of the Lake. This is a cryptid. It's one of those interesting cryptids. It's been around for a long time. People have talked about this creature. It's really ingrained itself in the legends of the region. There's a lot of stories involving this, like old-timey stories. But people still are cautious of this thing. It would be the same thing as if stories of the Loch Ness Monster were in the Canterbury Tales or something like that. If you could read, what's that book about that famous guy on the boat? Ulysses, the Voyager man. They're making a movie about it with Christopher Nolan. You know what I'm talking about. That guy. Imagine if that guy fought the Loch Ness Monster. I know he fought like monsters. I know he fought like cyclopses and witches and stuff like that. But imagine if he also fought the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot. And to this day, people are like, you know, you got to watch out for Bigfoot because I learned about him in my English class. It's an old story that people still talk about today, as in, be careful, you might run into the pelt. The hide might come after you. It's a cryptid, and it's another interesting thing because this might actually be a real creature. The cryptid, there's enough similarities between that and real marine life. People go, I actually know what they were talking about. It probably was sighted in that area, and it would appear to be a monster. But let's look at the legend. El Curo is known to stalk rivers and lagoons. It's an aquatic creature that will show up on land from time to time, sometimes to take its prey. But also, if it's had a good meal, it just ate some sailors who fell off a boat. Or more likely, if it had a D&D alignment, it's definitely not neutral or good. It loves to eat people. So if some sailors are on a boat in the middle of the lake fishing or something like that, he would knock over the boat and eat them. It's not like he's just a wandering, simple beast. No, it's mean. If he has a good meal in him, sometimes he'll crawl up on the riverbank or on the lake shore and just sit there and absorb the sun while it digests you. And then it'll crawl back into the water. But it's mainly an aquatic creature. Sometimes it'll come on land to hunt. Sometimes it'll come on land to rest. The general description, it looks like an outstretched cowhide. Some people say it's specifically brown and with white spots like a traditional cowhide. Some people say it's yellow. Some people say it's green or black. There's a lot of different versions of the coloring. Sometimes they're smaller than 5 feet wide. They get to around 2 feet, as small as 2 feet wide. But again, the one thing that is connected that always has all of these claws on the end of it. It's not super thick. It's about the size of a cowhide, but it has these claws all on the side. No matter how big it is, it's going to do a good amount of damage attacking you. Uses the claws to dig into you and then will eat you with that mouth underneath the body. I think you guys are kind of going, oh yeah, it does kind of sound like a certain animal. Oftentimes it's described as having red bulging eyes as well. And so, there's so many sightings of this thing across such a long period of time. Ancient legends to nowadays. Some researchers think what this is a freshwater octopus. There's some sort of octopus that may not be there anymore. Because again, like nowadays, you can have sightings of a sea monster that we know now are fake. We've covered stories like that before. There was the 2 friends who were imitating a swamp monster. I'll have to see if I can find the episode. And they made it all up, but there were sightings of that creature for years afterwards. Even after they came out and said it was fake, that they showed how they made it up, people still said, no, it was real and I just saw it a couple weeks ago. Actually, that's an interesting thing. It hasn't come out yet, but there's a new movie coming out. I think it's called Finding Bigfoot or Filming Bigfoot. I haven't talked about it yet because I've been waiting for the documentary to come out, but it is about the Patterson-Gimlin tape. The very famous Bigfoot tape. We covered it a couple times on this show. Capturing Bigfoot is the name of the documentary. It comes out this year. It's about the filming of that very famous Bigfoot sighting. So famous, in fact, that has become iconic, that Bigfoot walk, right? This documentary has already been screened at movie festivals. People have seen it, but it hasn't been released to the general public. It will be soon. The documentary includes friends of the Patterson and Gimlin. Those are 2 people, as well as family members of that crew. And they talk about, the whole documentary is how they faked it. Capturing Bigfoot is supposed to show footage they shot before the Patterson-Gimlin tape doing test runs. So if this is authentic, if the information in the documentary is authentic, then it completely destroys the Patterson-Gimlin tape. which is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic Bigfoot footage ever. Easily, I think it's that, but it's also always been held up as this is proof of Bigfoot. Yeah, it is from director Mark Evans. Said he found a 16 millimeter film that shows the rehearsal of that video, and then they talked to people involved and people who were on the sidelines of shooting that famous stuff. If it turns out that that was fake, verifiably fake, that's really going to change Bigfoot lore. But again, I think a lot of people will just say, no. The stuff showing it's fake is fake. The original footage was real. Wouldn't that be big? I've really been looking forward to that, but it has not come out for the general public yet. Anyway, people go, and here's the thing, if you saw an octopus, you could mistake it for a cryptid, especially if you didn't know what an octopus was. So the idea is either the sightings nowadays are fake, or people they're mistaken, or there still are freshwater octopi in the area. But researchers say all of these legends, it sounds so much like an octopus. It sounds like things an octopus would do. Some versions of it, instead of having it be a hide, it still is a hide, but instead of it just being flat, they said at the ends it has these numerous arms and there's claws at the end of it. They go the claws, some octopi do. It would look like that, right? These octopus arms coming at you, you couldn't get away once it wrapped onto you. It has the mouth underneath. It's going to drag you back into the water to eat you or knock you out of your boat to eat you in the first place. Swimmers disappearing. It'd have to be a pretty aggressive octopi, but interesting. But we don't know. We don't know. It could actually be a real cryptid. That's just one of the theories. It would make sense. It definitely would make sense. But getting back to the legend, it's funny because some people just so it's a cryptid. It's just a monster out there that can swallow a clumsy swimmer. So you got to be careful on the lake, boys and girls. A lot of legends come out of, safety. Don't go into the woods after dark. Don't go out to strange waterways. Stay away from strangers. Those stories involve monsters often because then people actually pay attention to them. I found one source, cryptids.fandom, that did a little bit of a flourish to it. They said, no, it's not just a monster. It's a actual cowhide off of a cow, and it is filled with the pain and anger of a cow being slaughtered for meat, and then its hide just being discarded. And you take all of that slaughterhouse energy and infuse it into this hide, and now it wants revenge against humanity. That's awesome. I mean, talk about an origin story. I don't think that's real. I found that early on, and I was like, oh, that'd be totally dope. And every other source I talked about never mentioned that. I don't know where cryptids.fandom.com got that info. And that might sound like a goofy website. We've covered them before. Cryptids.fandom.com, although that does sound like a goofy website. They have some pretty good research into cryptids, so I'm not going to dismiss it just because of that goofy name. And I would have thought that was a cool origin story. I just could never verify any of that. They also said, though, that the El Cura doesn't have hooks. It doesn't have claws. Those are actually knives it took off the bodies of its former meals. I go, okay, that's made up, right? That's totally not. I mean, again, that would be dope. But, I mean, how does it kill the first 5 guys with no claws? It's like, I hope this guy doesn't have a knife, but I hope he does have a knife because I want it, but I hope he doesn't have a knife that he can stab me. Now, how do you defeat one of these? This is one of those stories because it's been around for so long. It's a brutal creature you have to watch out for. How do you defeat one of these? This is, to me, some of the most entertaining stuff when we look at stories of cryptids and legends are the ideas of how humans can fight back against them. Well, there's a local cactus called a Quizco. And this was an old legend. This guy, he had to fight one of these things. Like this old legend of this guy named Nanko. He had to fight El Curo. It was basically their version of Ulysses or Odysseus or whatever those people's names are. Hercules. It's an old legend. He had to fight an El Cura. So what he did was he goes, wait a second. So this skin's been running around jumping on people, eating them. How do I fight a skin? How do I fight this thing? Well, what he does, if you're like the cactus that you just mentioned, there's a local cactus, and he basically made a suit out of cactus. It went all wrapped around his arms and wrapped around his legs. That's not a suit. I know, maybe I made it sound so awesome. He has a helmet. He has like a cactus helmet. He's like, fight me. He doesn't make a whole suit, okay, fine, but he does wrap the cactus around his arms and around his legs. He's like, I had to try and do a couple different versions of this. First one poked me too much. He put it on backwards, but he makes gauntlets basically out of cactus, his arms and legs, and he lets the El Cura attack him. And they're actually pretty easy to trigger. Sometimes, well, I mean, it is a mythological monster that may still exist. It's not a guarantee you're going to find one of these, but a lot of times it hunts in the water. Sometimes it'll climb up on shore and lay there and let the waves crash over it a couple times, lake waves, which will put sand over him. Again, this is very octopus behavior, camouflage. The sand will wash over him just a small layer or two and it'll lay there. So if you're walking by the shore and you step on it, it just jumps up and wraps you up. And again, like with the claws digging into you, even if it didn't have these claws, even if it only killed a couple people with knives at this point, the skin constricting around you, you couldn't fight that. The skin will just completely cover you and you're fighting against it. Well, anyways, Nanko has this cactus wrapped on him and he goes hunting for one of these things. And it wrapped around him and he just burst out of it. I mean, if you knew how to defeat it, it would actually be quite easy. It's as thick as a cow skin. It wraps around you and the spikes, the cactus spikes, basically damaged the El Cura, and the more it got tight, the more damage it would do because the spikes, and then Nanko just breaks free of it. They say nowadays if you do want to catch one of these, you can do something similar, probably not go all out. Step 1, get swallowed by this thing. No, they say you can get this local cacti, and after consulting a medicine woman, they have a medicine woman up there named Machi, you can take the cacti and instead of wrapping it on you, you make it, the cacti, you put it in the form of a human. You use it as bait. The El Cura is not the smartest creature. You make a cactus-shaped human and you throw it into the water or roll it down the beach. And eventually the hide will go to attack it and end up just cutting itself up, ripping itself up. And then either die there or make its way back in the water and die later. I'm sure people have tried to eat one of these, but it's probably as delicious as eating just cow skin. I did think it was interesting, Nanko, almost in a Dead Rabbit Radio connected universe, after he killed this El Cura, he then went to the cave of an Mbuche. Do you remember that episode? That is one of those episodes, it's probably in the first 200 episodes, I still think about from time to time. I think that story is so crazy. The Mbuche was basically a creature that local sorcerers in Chile would make. They would kidnap kids and tie one leg behind the kid's back and then like distort and deform the child so he would become this magic working assistant. I'll put that episode in the show notes. It's one of my favorites. I don't know if, like, I haven't listened to it. I don't know if the storytelling part, my voice probably sounds weird, and it's probably too rushed or something like that, but the story itself I find interesting. Nanko defeats an El Cura, then goes to the cave of an Mbuche, kills that guy, and then Nanko rescues his cousin, and they get married. So I go, that's kind of like a Dead Rabbit Radio right there. A little bit of incest and a little bit of cave magic. And the Mbuche is back. So that's the story of the El Cura, aka the Pelt of the Lake, a cryptid that definitely, it's so ingrained in the stories of this area, they go back to old legends of this thing. And it's possibly it is a real cryptid that hunted back then and still hunts the waterways today. People still talk about it today. It's something you gotta watch out for. Don't go down to the lake, you might get eaten by a giant cowhide. And if you do, maybe or maybe not bring a knife, because if you bring a knife and it kills you, then it has one more claw. But if you don't bring a knife, it will have one less claw, but you're gonna die. You're gonna die anyways, you just don't leave behind a gift. Or, also just build a cactus you. You go out fishing on your boat, and next to you is Cactus Jack, your buddy just sitting there. And you're like, you're my best friend. You're all putting your arm over his shoulders, roll, getting all poked and bloody. Blitz Neil, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world. A famous carpenter copter. We're waving goodbye to the hide of the lake. The pelt of the lake. Sorry, I misnamed you. Living cowskin wielding multiple knives. We're leaving behind Chile and Argentina. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Iran? We're headed all the way out to Iran. We're headed back in time a bit as well. 1960s. Actually, probably earlier than that, 1950s. We're on a long road through the middle of nowhere. And there's a family taking a trip. driving their car down the road, headed from here to there. And at one point along the trip, Dad pulls over the car and says, hey guys, okay, so we're going to take a break here. We're going to rest a bit. Hey son, your job is to get us some water. Here's a bucket. You know it's an old story when you still got water from a river just to have some drinking water. That's where we're going to meet this young boy. His name is Mohammed Z. He didn't give his full last name, just the initial, Mohammed Z. He's a young guy growing up in Iran on this road trip. Dad says, here's a bucket. Go get some water from the river. Okay. So he takes the empty bucket down to the river and fills it up. That was his first problem. He filled the bucket up. He didn't expect how heavy it was going to be carrying it all the way back to the car. And he's struggling with this. He's struggling carrying all this water in this completely full bucket. The sun's beating down on him. Sweat's beading off of his forehead. His tiny muscles ache as he's hauling this bucket full of water back towards his family. And that's when he decides to do what the logical thing to do, right? Is to spill a little bit of the water out to make the bucket lighter. He goes, I just gotta tip it over and get some of this water out of here. That way it's not so heavy. That way I don't have to work so hard. That way I can easily carry the rest of the water back to my family. And he's about to spill it out. Totally logical, right? I think we would all do that. We've all overfilled things in our life. And that's when he sees, not off in the distance, but really not super convenient for him to get to. Definitely not on the way back to the car. He sees a single tree just sitting there in the ground. Somehow fate had sent its acorn or nut farther down from the riverbank to grow in this hostile patch of land. The rest of the trees in the area were nourished by the water of the river. All of this trees, brothers and sisters, they're hardy, they're healthy, they're well-watered. But this tree here, separated from the rest, has to rely on what little water it can get, maybe a little bit of rain here and there, and it's struggling. Muhammad looks at this tree and sees that it's struggling. It's parched, it's thirsty, but it's too far away. I'm already having a hard time carrying this heavy bucket to my destination. And if I pour water out to make it easier to carry, I can't then pour more water out on the tree. Eventually, we're not going to have any water. But he's looking at that tree. He's looking at that poor little dry guy. And instead of spilling the water out where he stands to make his trip back to his car easier, he begins marching towards that thirsty little tree. He gets to the tree and he takes his bucket of water and he pours water out onto the roots. The same amount of water he was going to spill to make his journey easier. Honestly, maybe a little bit extra for this guy. A little bit extra for my tree buddy. Muhammad pours the water at the base of this tree and he sits there and he watches as it sinks into the earth. He actually sees it get absorbed into the ground and feels it get absorbed into the roots of this tree. The universe begins to hum. From the stars in the sky to the atoms in the soil, all of reality begins to sing his praises. One unifying moment of gratitude. Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you. This is that's not the whole story. This is a really interesting story I just found the other day I've been wanting to tell you guys about. What we're going to take a look at is a near-death experience from a Muslim perspective. And it shouldn't be any shock that it matches pretty much near-death experiences overall. Right? That kind of makes sense. Dying is a human condition. It's part of life. It's part of everything. And even though you have wide differences in religions around the world, near-death experiences seem to match each other. You do have the same things guardians showing up to take you on a trip, tunnels of light, a glimpse of paradise. All of these things we see in near-death experiences across the board. But we're going to take a look at Muhammad's experience and see how he... So, to cut to the chase, that Muhammad was alive when he was a boy, but as an adult, he's going to have a near-death experience. And that moment when he watered that tree as a young boy, that moment is replayed in the near-death experience, and he gets to realize how important that moment was for all of reality. Super interesting stuff. But before we get to that, before I continue Muhammad's story, I thought this was interesting as well. I don't remember what cued me onto this. I don't know if I was researching near-death experiences just overall. I feel bad if one of you guys recommended this to me and it wasn't in my notes. So if that's the case, go ahead and shoot me an email. But basically, the question was, would someone of a different religion have different near-death experiences than what we normally see as a Christian near-death experience, or even an agnostic near-death experience? We've done a ton of episodes on near-death experiences. What's interesting is a lot of them are actually negative. I think it's like 10 to 20% of near-death experiences involve some sort of hellish vision. I think it's closer to 10%. Which normally you don't hear of, right? You just hear of the stereotypical, I died, I saw the tunnel of light, I told it wasn't my time, I told that I had to come back type of thing. We've done tons of near-death experience episodes on this show. But as far as I knew, or as far as I remember, I don't think we'd ever done a Muslim near-death experience. Super interesting. When I started to research this, one of the first things I found, someone posted online and says, hey, well, Muslims don't have near-death experiences as often as other religions. I thought, really? Because I don't know, right? I'm going into this subject blind. I was like, oh, well, okay, really? And this was posted on Reddit. This guy goes, it actually kind of makes sense that Muslims don't have the same amount of near-death experiences as, say, Christians. Because and this is not what I'm saying, this is what the poster on Reddit was saying. They go, because Muslims tend to live in very faith-based communities, because their faith is constantly being reaffirmed, because they're constantly in that state of worship. They're constantly discussing religion. It's just part of their society, right? Whether it's Dearborn, Michigan, or Tehran. You wake up in a faith-based community. You live in a faith-based community. You go to bed in a faith-based community. The person online said, and this is just a random person. This wasn't an expert, but it's still interesting to see. They go, if your faith is constantly being reaffirmed, you don't need a near-death experience. Near-death experiences are for people who are doubting their faith. They're not for sure if there's life after death, or they don't know exactly what that entails. So when they die and they're visited by a guardian angel, or they see paradise or a glimpse of hell, it reaffirms their faith, or lets them know what's actually on the other side if they were agnostic or atheist. Muslims don't have near-death experiences because they don't need that affirmation. They know what's going to happen. And I read that and I go, that's really interesting, right? I'm going into this subject totally blind. I don't know anything about it. I go, that's interesting. And then I start watching this YouTube video. There's a YouTube channel called Let the Quran Speak. And they were doing a video about near-death experiences. And the very first thing the host said, like I clicked play, and the very first thing the host said was, near-death experiences are very common for Muslims. I go, okay, well, listen, that's the thing, right? Obviously, all this stuff is up for debate. But the host, she goes, they're super common. So it's very fascinating, right? Coming right out of the gate, I go, well, maybe that's true. But then when she goes, no, it happens all the time, I go, oh, okay, well, and here's the thing, that's probably true. They probably do happen the same amount of times for Muslims as they do for other religions or people who aren't religious. One of the theories is people go, they don't talk about them much. They happen with the same frequency, but they don't talk about them that much because if part of the near-death experience might contradict Muslim teachings, they may not feel comfortable bringing it up. If the Muslim teaching... One interesting thing that I found out about this, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but in the Muslim tradition, when you die, you're basically in your grave until the end times. So people go, well, you can't really have... every near-death experience should be the same. You're just in the grave. Because that's actually what happens to Muslims until the end times come. But again, I was looking into that, and they go, yeah, technically you're in the grave, but you get a glimpse of what paradise awaits, or what your afterlife is. So it's not like you're just sitting in the ground for 1,000 years or whatever. You do get to experience it in one way or the other. So, when you're hopping into a topic that you don't know a ton about, right? I'm not an expert in the Muslim faith at all. I'm getting all of this different stuff. They go, you can't have near-death experiences. Well, you can. Well, you shouldn't talk about it. All this stuff coming out. And really, I think kind of the takeaway was, yes, Muslims do have near-death experiences at the same rates as other religions. They probably just don't talk about it as much. Especially with people who aren't Muslim, would I think be fair assessment to make. So right there, that was the first thing. So yeah, they have the exact same amount. So I thought that was just an interesting little note there. And if you were Muslim and you had a near-death experience and you had this vision of paradise, it's not wrong, because even if you are in the grave for 1,000 or 2,000 years, or however long, you still get to experience a glimpse of that paradise while you're waiting for it. Let's look at the story of Muhammad. And it doesn't differ a ton from traditional near-death experiences. However, there were some notable parts of it that I wanted to kind of discuss with you. One being that, here's the thing. Ever since I read this, in the back of my mind, it's been playing out, because once I tell you this, it may ruin it for you. When I say it may ruin it for you, I mean your afterlife. I'm not saying this is a cursed episode, but it may actually kind of make it hard for you to get any reward after you die, or maybe the rewards you were supposed to have. I thought it was really interesting, and it really boils down to that moment of Muhammad in the desert with the tree. Long story short, we're going to buzz past some of the stuff that's pretty typical. Muhammad's in a horrible car accident. In the year 1977, he was driving home. He was 26 years old in 1977. He was driving from where he worked, which was Mashhad, Iran. He was heading to Isfahan for vacation. That's where his family was. He kind of worked away from his family. He was headed back to spend some time with them for a vacation. As he was near the city of Guchan, he's involved in a horrible car accident. It was the first miracle was that somebody saw the accident happen. He went off the side of the road. The first miracle was someone saw it happen and stopped, was able to get him to a hospital, to get medical services out there, get him to the hospital. But when he gets to that hospital in Guchan, he's not doing really well. He's dying. And he's in the hospital room, and, he's a 26-year-old man. He's dying. He's all banged up. And the doctors are coming in, and he goes, at one point, this really pretty young nurse came in. And what was going through my head was, oh, I hope she doesn't see me all gross. He's all trying to hold his guts in. He's like, oh, look at me. I'm so skinny. Ignore the massive intestines shooting out of my stomach wounds. No, he goes, I thought she was really hot, and I was kind of embarrassed at this state of me. I wish I wasn't horribly mangled, which is a typical guy thing, right? You just want to impress any girl you can. You're like, oh, why did I have to be in that horrible car accident? The same day I'm going to meet this hottie. And he dies, basically. When he's in the hospital room, he dies. The first thing he realizes that he could be at every place in the hospital at once. Like, he was the hospital. He felt his consciousness expand, and he knew everything that was going on. Just by looking at something, he could tell you the chemical composition of it. Vast amount of knowledge he had tapped into after death. And he's looking at that nurse. He could be anywhere in the hospital, and he's still checking out the baddie. He's checking out this nurse, and he could just feel her sorrow for him. Because he was dying, he was going to die, he was dead, and she just felt really bad because she also was looking at this young man, this young broken man. He started to realize that he could expand past the hospital. Anyone that he'd ever met in his life, he could visit and see what they were doing right there. And the first person this is kind of interesting, the first person he goes to visit, he's still physically in, he's not Casper floating around, he's still physically in the hospital. And he goes, I knew the whole process I was going through in the hospital as well. I saw them declare me dead. I saw them make preparations, to take me to the morgue or whatever. He knew all that stuff was going on. But at the same time, he went to visit an old college professor of his. He goes and he visits his college professor, and he says, so this is such an interesting story. He goes to visit his college professor while his corpse is in the hospital. And he's all over the hospital as well. He just has this expanded perception. He said he could sense and see in 360-degree angles. That's typical. We've seen that before in near-death stories. But he goes, I went to go visit my college professor, but then I realized my college professor wasn't thinking about me. He was thinking about his own son. That kind of bummed me out. It's like, dude, how long have you been out of college? Like 2 years? You want your professor to, like, stalk you? He visited his college professor, and he goes, wow, this is cool. I can visit anyone. But then once he realized that his college professor wasn't thinking about him, he left. Okay, I mean, I guess it's a little egotistical. Then he goes and visits his family, and he sees his mom making dinner for the family. They're expecting him to come home. They don't know that he's been injured yet, or dead even. He says, I went home and I saw my mom cooking the meal that I would never eat. She doesn't know I'm dead yet. She's still making dinner. And I went to hug her, but, I couldn't. I was just an essence, a spirit. As he's kind of traveling around these places, he starts to get this feeling there's something else there with him when he's at his mom's house, when he's at the professor's house, when he's at the hospital. There's something there with him. And this is something or someone he comes to refer to as a guardian, or a guide even, a guardian and a guide. He does say that I saw a tunnel of light. I did end up in a very illuminated white room, very calm, peaceful room. And it was there that the guide began to show Muhammad his life. The guide is showing Muhammad his life, and he goes, let's go through it. Let's show you all this stuff. Very typical, right? The life review we see in near-death experiences. And one of the moments he showed Muhammad was the watering of the tree. And when he did it as a kid, he really didn't consider it to be that huge of an act. Even when he's dead here, he goes, I had done more important things since then. That was such an inconsequential act, or so I thought. Muhammad says when he poured that water into the ground and watched it absorb, he goes, I stood there and waited till all the water went into the ground. The whole universe sang my praises. Everything was one, and all of it was pointed towards me in gratitude because I watered this tree. Because I watered this tree and I didn't have to, it actually took extra effort, and I expected no reward. The universe considered that one of the greatest things he had ever done in his life because of those things. He didn't have to. It was hard, and he expected nothing in return. It was one of the most important things that Muhammad had done in his entire life. That's really kind of a cool moment. There is something very biblical about that time. Like, I could see that 100% being a parable about the boy in the bucket. But so we're not done with the story yet, but I will say this. Since I read that, I was like, oh yeah. And listen, man, I'm no, super do-gooder. I'm not a dork. But now, I read this story a couple days ago. Now, every time I do something good, in the back of my mind, it's like, is that good enough, stars? Do you sing my praises yet? I'm all shaking my fist in the air. No, it's kind of the opposite. Now, listen, this is not the same by any means, but the other day I was shopping at Safeway, and I put my shopping cart back. I put it back where it belonged. And I didn't have to do that. Right? You're like, yeah, Jason, that's not even the same thing. This guy saved a dying tree. You moved a hunk of metal 20 feet so it would go where it's supposed to go. Yeah, but I didn't have to. I didn't have to. It was hard. It was one of those shopping carts that locked if you took it too far. It was anti-theft procedure. And I didn't have to, right? I put it back. I put the shopping cart back. And I thought, maybe this will get me some rewards in paradise. Then maybe this will be dope. But then I go, wait a second, no, I can't do it because I want the stars to sing my praises. I have to put the shopping cart back just 'cause. And the problem is that I read this story like earlier this week. Like I read it on Saturday. And every time I do something good for the past couple days, I go, oh, I'm doing something good. Like I'm all patting myself on the back. I go, I'm doing something good. And I go, well, wait a second. If I'm doing something good, so I will have the universe thank me, then technically I'm doing it for a selfish reason. It's kind of like a Roku's basilisk. Every time that I now do something good, I think, oh, this will please the universe. This will make the universe. I can't wait to see this when I die. Me pushing a shopping cart back. My guardian angel's like, I don't know, man. Look at, and there you are doing a little dance, and you're hoping the stars thank you. Every time I've done something good over the past couple days, in the back of my mind, I'm going, oh, maybe the universe liked that. Did you like that, universe? But then I go, wait a second, no, I can't think that way. Because then I'm not doing it because it's good, I'm doing it because I want the universe to thank me. So literally, it's stuck in my head. I'm going to stop doing good things. No more shopping carts are being put back in place. You guys know what I mean? If you take this story to heart, which I did, I really love that story with Muhammad. When I do good stuff, when I help people out, I go, now I'm going to get my rewards. Which is totally the opposite of the point. You're supposed to do good stuff and expect no reward. Even subconsciously. There's one other highlight I want to kind of point out in this story, and then we'll wrap it up. Because Muhammad also sees the opposite, and I thought this was fascinating as well. You know, who does nothing but good stuff? Nobody. You have the story about the water, but then also Muhammad said, when I was older, around 10 or 11, something happened that my guardian showed me as well, that my guide showed me as well. He goes, he remembered doing it. He just didn't think it was going to be that important. Muhammad says, when I was 10 years old, there was this other kid in town that I didn't like. So I relentlessly bullied him. And then one day caught him slipping. And I beat the horse feathers out of that kid. He was his same age. They were both 10 years old. He goes, I caught this guy slipping one day. And I cornered him. And I just ruthlessly beat him down. Like, not just nooking at me. He goes, I laid into this boy. Like, I beat him so badly. And then the victim, there's no other word for it, the victim took off running. And Muhammad was just like, whatever, right? This was a moment in time where he beat up another boy. He goes, but this time I experienced it from the boy's point of view. Not the beating in and of itself, which is a factor. He mentions that. We do see that in other near-death experiences, that every good thing you did to someone you will experience from their point of view, and every bad thing you did to someone you would experience that from their point of view. So every time you lied to someone, every time you betrayed someone's trust, you would then feel it from their point of view. That trust broken, that betrayal, that heartbreak, you would feel that from their point of view, so you know what it was like. But the good stuff too. All those orgasms you've been handing out all over town, you're like, right when they get to your college years, you're like, this is going to be awesome. Oh, I'm going to have so many orgasms. From another point of view, he said the victim was walking, let's call him Joey. Joey's walking home after I severely beat him down, and I could feel the negative energy just emitting from Joey's body, sorrow and pain and fear. And I could watch how it changed the landscape around him. I watched how it was charging the rocks and the shrubs, the weeds, the sparrows, the street signs, the bricks of the building. I could feel all of that fear and pain and loneliness just waveforms out of Joey's broken little body, and how it affected the world around him, charged all of these inanimate objects and animate objects with negativity. It wasn't that I just beat a boy down. It was the fact that, like, everything you do has an effect on things you would never think it would have an effect on. And I could see the rocks change. Not like they got, like, angry, they got little angry faces on them, but that negative energy has to go somewhere. And it's emitting out into the world. And he goes, and I followed this boy home. I followed Joey home. And all of that negativity, all of that sadness, all of that hurt, he takes that home with him and he goes, I didn't know this at the time, but that beating changed not just Joey's life, but his parents' life as well. He goes, that I found out, he didn't know this in the real world, but in the afterlife through this vision. He goes, when Joey went home, I watched his mom change. She was so sad and scared as she sobbed over her boy, trying to stop the bleeding, trying to put some ice on the welts. I changed that household. After that point, his mother became so paranoid that every time her son left her sight, he was going to be injured again and maybe not even come back home. He didn't know that was real in the real world. He never had that information, but in the afterlife, he changed the family dynamic. Joey's mother became a different person after this beating. This beating that was just another Tuesday for Muhammad meant nothing to him. Isn't that awesome? I mean, not awesome that kid got beat up, but again, that's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. He watched this event that he had created, he beat this kid up, affect the world in ways that Muhammad didn't even know. And changed the way a mother interacted with her son. She's just so scared and fearful now for her little boy, her little Joey. Every time he left, she was just afraid that he was going to get beaten up. He was going to be hurt again. Her little baby. She couldn't protect him all the time, so instead she just feared the worst. And, eventually he comes back to life. They thought he was dead. He said that clinically I was dead for 30 minutes, and then I came back, and he didn't tell anybody. Because in 1977, you don't really know a bunch of this stuff. The world of the paranormal was far more restricted outside of, a few books or a few specials, In Search Of or something like that, right? It was to the realm of lunatics and zealots. But what happened was, he goes, I experienced all this stuff. I didn't tell anyone until quite a few years later, he came across a book about near-death experiences, and he's reading it, and he goes, oh, wait, this happened to other people as well? I didn't even know that. And that's when he felt comfortable telling his story. He told this story to a organization that catalogs all this stuff. They are let me find their full name here. We've covered them before on the show. The Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, or nerdorf.org. There'll be a link in the show notes. You can go through all of these near-death experiences. Yeah, actually, I'm having a recollection now. One of you guys sent me a bunch of near-death experiences. We covered them. I gave you a shout out then. I don't think this was one of those, but apologies if this was one of them. So really, at the end of the day, it kind of does match what we would consider a normal near-death experience, with some very descriptive elements to it, i.e. the universe thanking him and then realizing how, you beat somebody down, what it can do to them outside of the beating. Fascinating stuff. So that's the story of Muhammad Z, another very interesting near-death experience. It's funny because I do read a lot of these. A lot of them do seem pretty samey. I mean, it's a miracle, right? I get it. If it was my near-death experience, it'd be the most amazing thing ever. But when you read a ton of these, when you go to websites like Nerdorf and you take a look at it, it's kind of like, oh, okay, Tunnel of Life, given a lesson to take on further. Oh, yeah, I should say, I thought this is interesting too. Muhammad was given that message, they often are, when they have these near-death experiences. It's not your time, it's time to go back. And, they usually plead, because everything's so great in the afterlife, the experiencers usually plead, hey, no, I want to stay. And in this case, if I remember correctly, the guide said, no, Muhammad, you're going to do all these great things, and, listed all this stuff off. Muhammad's like, oh, dude, you're right. I do have to go back. That sounds super important. But then when he came to in the hospital, he forgot. He goes, I know the guide told me something. The guide really impressed me to come back, but I don't remember any of the things he said I was destined to do. kind of interesting, right? Because that knowledge would it could be a burden to not only come back from the dead, but also have like a laundry list, the to-do list that is very important. Things you got to take care of. Put away shopping carts. Maybe that's what he was told. You're going to have to put away a lot of shopping carts and expect no reward. Fascinating stuff. Well, guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and I really hope to see you guys at either the movie night or the movie morning or both. It's always a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I love sharing that time with you. I used to watch a lot of short horror films by myself, and now I save them to watch with you guys. So, so many times I find a cool movie on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. Oh, I gotta wait to share it with you guys. So I hope to see you guys there. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great weekend, guys.